I am muted. I accidentally muted myself, as always, you know how it goes. Ay, Dios mío. Okay, we are continuing. Raymond E. Feist. Magician. Yeah. My beautiful hands. Mainly clean my nails. Ay, Dios mío. I should have cleaned them before going live. Never mind. Yes, I was muted. Yeah. Where am I going? Oh yeah, no, that was it. Need to get my little character up. Yeah, there he is. Okay. Why is he not talking? No. My character's not talking. God damn it. How do we... Uchi. Log in with Discord, yes. Authorize, yes. Okay. Yes. Cat. 1, 2. Okay, that's just... Do I need to leave and go back out again? Hold up. Oh well. Oh, is it because I was muted, that's why he was not talking. I was muted on Discord. That's why. Yay, he can talk. Okay, cool. Got that all sorted. Yeah, we have actually just started Chapter 3 with Raymond E. Feist. With... remove this. What's in that cursed blue box? How is it cursed? Pug sat, sulking on a sleeping pallet. Buntus, the fire drake, pushed his head forward, inviting Pug to scratch him behind his eye ridges. Seeing that he would get little satisfaction, the drake made his way to a tower window, and with a snort of displeasure, complete with a small puff of black smoke, launched himself in flight. Pug then noticed the creatures leaving, so engrossed was he in his own world of troubles. Since he had taken on the position Colgan's apprentice 14 months ago, everything he had done seemed to go wrong. Hey, thank you for following us, Security Cat and got box item. Thank you. Hey, Celix, how you doing? Thank you for coming in. Oh, I should have pinned it, shouldn't I? Oops. Yeah. But yeah. He lay back on the pallet, covering his eyes with a forearm. He could smell the salty sea breeze that blew in through his window and feel the sun's warmth across his legs. Everything in his life had taken a turn for the better since his apprenticeship, except the single most important thing, his studies. Oh, am I a bit too loud there? Hopefully not. If I'm a bit loud, then please tell me. For months, Krogan had been laboring to teach him the fundamentals of the magician's arts, but there always something that caused the efforts to go awry. In the theories of spellcasting, Pug was a quick study, grasping the basic concepts well, but each time he attempted to use the knowledge, something seemed to hold him back. Okay, I guess I'll do something like this then. Do some real ASMR, shouldn't I? Is this what you want now? Is that it? Each time he attempted to use his knowledge, something seemed to hold him back. It was as if a part of his mind refused to follow through with the magic, as if a block existed that prevented him from passing a certain point in the spell. Each time he tried, he could feel himself approach that point, and like a rider of a bulky horse, he couldn't seem to force himself over the hurdle. Is the music okay? Kolkin dismissed his warriors, saying that it would all sort itself out in time. The stout magician was always sympathetic with the boy, never reprimanding him for not doing better, for he knew the boy was trying. Pug brought out of his reverie by someone's opening the door. Looking up, he saw Father Tully entering, a large book under his arm. The cleric's white robes rustled as he closed the door. Pug sat up. Pug, it's time for a writing lesson. He stopped himself when he saw the downcast expression of the boy. What's the matter, lad? Pug had come to like the old priest of Astalon. He was a strict master, but a fair one. Okay, cool. He would praise the boy for his success as often as he scolded him for his failures. He had a quick mind and a sense of humor and was open to questions, no matter how stupid Pug thought they might sound. Coming to his feet, Pug sighed. I don't know, Father. It's just that things don't seem to be going right. Everything I try to manage to make a mess of. Everything I try, I manage to make a mess of. Pug, it can't be all black, the beast said. No, this is the priest. This is not the magician. So basically what happened is that a priest teaches Pug how to write and read. So he came in to his sleeping quarters, but he found Pug in a bad way, so was starting to talk to him instead. Yeah. What was the name? Yeah, Father Tully. That's the priest's name. Oh, oops, I accidentally muted myself. I have to reread that again, don't I? Pug, it can't be all black, the priest said, placing a hand on Pug's shoulder. Why don't you tell me what is troubling you, and we can practice writing some other time? He moved to a stool by the window and adjusted his robes around him as he sat. Hey, Cammy! Oh god, what's the points now? 85% left. Oh, 85. So 15% left. Ay, Dios mío. Hey, Fluffs. Yeah, it's going good. Pug had grown over the last year, but was still small. His shoulders were beginning to broaden a bit, and his face was showing signs of the man he would be someday. He was a dejected figure in his homespun tunic and trousers, his mood as grey as the material he wore. His room, which was usually neat and orderly, was a mess of scrolls and books, reflecting the disorder in his mind. Pug sat quietly for a moment, but when the priest said nothing, he started to speak. Do you remember my telling you that Kogan was trying to teach me the 3 basic cantrips to calm the mind, so that the working of spells could be practiced without stress? Yeah, muted. Well, the truth is that I mastered those exercises months ago. I can bring my mind to a state of calm in moments now, with little effort. But that is as far as it goes. For that, everything seems to fall apart. What do you mean? The next thing to learn is the discipline to mind to do things that are not natural for it. Such as think on one thing to the exclusion of everything else, or not to think of something, which is quite hard once you've been told what it is. I can do those things most of the time, but now and again I feel like there are some forces inside my head crashing about, demanding that I do things in a different way. It's like there is something else happening in my head than what Colgan told me to expect. Each time I try one of the simple spells Colgan has taught me, like moving an object or lifting myself off the ground, these things in my head come flooding in on my concentration, and I lose my control. I can't even master the simplest spell. Luke felt himself tremble, but it was the first chance he had to speak about this to anyone beside Colgan. Colgan simply says to keep at it and not worry. Daring tears, he continued. I have talent, Colgan said. Colgan said he knew it from the first time we met, when I used crystal. I don't have a tail, Gummy. I'm not using my avatar. Colgan simply says to keep at it and not worry. I have talent, he said. He knew it from the first time we met, when I used the crystal. You've told me that I have talent. I just can't make the spells work with the way they're supposed to. I get so confused by it all. Pug, said the priest. Magic has many properties, and we understand little of how it works, even of those who practice it. In the temples, we are taught that magic is a gift from the gods, and we accept that on faith. We do not understand how this can be so, but we do not question. Each order has its own province of magic. No two quite alike. I am capable of magic that those who follow their orders are not, but none can say why. Magicians deal in a different sort of magic, and their practices are very different from our practices in the temple. Much of what they do we cannot. It is they who study the art of magic, seeking its natures and workings, but even they cannot explain how magic works. They only know how to work it, and pass that knowledge along to their students, as Colgan is doing with you. Trying to do with me, father. I think he may have misjudged me. I think not, Pug. I have some knowledge of these things, and since you have become Colgan's pupil, I have felt the power growing in you. Perhaps you will come to it late, as others have, but I'm sure you will find the proper path. Yes, you're nuts. You're actually hearing me read. Just doing my crackings. I'm sure Owl knows all about my cracks. Trying to do with me, father? I think he may have misjudged me. I think not, Pug. I have some knowledge of these things, and since you have become Colgan's pupil, I have felt the power growing in you. Now, Pug was not comforted. He didn't question the priest's wisdom or his opinion, but he did feel he could be mistaken. I hope you're right, father. I just don't understand what's wrong with me. I think I know what's wrong with you, came a voice from the door. Startled, Pug and Father Turley turned to see Colgan standing in the doorway. His blue eyes were set in lines of concern. His thick, grey brows formed a V over the ridge of his nose. Neither Pug nor Turley had heard the door open. Colgan hiked his long green robe and stepped into the room, leaving the door open. Come here, Pug, said the magician with a small wave of his hand. Pug went over to the magician, who placed both his hands on his shoulders. Boys who sit in their rooms day after day worrying about why things don't make things not work. I am giving you the day for yourself. As it is sixth day, there should be plenty of other boys to help you in whatever sort of trouble boys can find. He smiled, and his pupil was filled with relief. You need a rest from study. Now go. So saying, he fitched a playful cuff to the boy's head, sending him running down the stairs. Crossing over the pallet, Colgan lowered his heavy frame to it and looked at the priests. Boys, said Colgan, shaking his head. You hold a festival, give them a badge of craft, and suddenly they expect to be men. But they're still boys, no matter how hard they try. They still act like boys, not men. Ay, Dios mío. He took out his pipe and began filling it. Magicians are considered young and experienced at 30. But in all other crafts, 30 would mark a man, a journeyman, or a master, most likely readying his own son for the choosing. He put a taper over to the coals, still smouldering in Pug's fire pot, and lit his pipe. Tully nodded. I understand, Colgan. The priesthood also is an old man's calling. At Pug's age, I still had 13 years of being an Akiote before me. The old priest leaned forward. Colgan, what's of the boy's problem? The boy's right, you know, Colgan said flatly. There's no explanation for why he cannot perform the skills I've tried to teach him. Thank you, Gummy, for that subscription. Okay. Yes, yes, I know. Spin, spin, spin. So yeah, as always, each time I get a subscription, gifted sub, or resub, I have to do a Bean Boozle. Alright, here it is. Alright. Take your chances. No, come on. Really? No, come on. Really? Ugh. I spinned it 3 times as well. No, come on. Let's do... Yeah, fine. I'll do this then, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Another one for toothpaste. I mean, soap. I hope I don't get another soap. Let's go with this one, actually. I'll take this one. Okay. Got my jelly bean. And that's... where's... Cats for the capture device. Properties. Alright, that's it. Yeah. Sorry for the mess behind me. And as you can see, this is the thing that I'd be wearing. The kitty. The kitty hoodie. That's here. So yes, it is behind me. And as you see, I've actually cut my hair, shaved. Yeah, clean shaven. Hey Goliath, how you doing? Doing good? I actually look a lot younger when I shaved. God damn, I certainly feel as well. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, how's everyone doing? No, I'm not naked. It's too cold, Owl. You know that. Like, why is this? Okay, no, that's just something. Probably during the summer you'll see me with my top off. But yeah. Oh, here's a jelly bean. Yeah, kitty hoodie. Exactly. I'll be wearing that when it reaches the full amount. So how you doing, Gully? Are you doing good? How's your day been? Yeah. Thank you for the contribution. Okay. That is very nice of you. Maybe. And with that... Oh, it's an ad break. Oops, I did not realize. I'll wait till it's over. Ad breaks ends, and of course you're gonna shout me out, aren't you? Oh no, never mind. Attention. Coming soon to a chat near you. In today's episode of The Enchanted Chat Room, Magician K Mads discovers the softer side of sorcery, while mystical fluffs and gummy gum conjure a cookie storm. Owl swoops in with exclamations as Wimpy Wolf gets a playful bite. The chat's spellbinding antics include back-cracking suspense, hair-raising haircuts, and mysterious hoodie enchantments. Will the wool-trapped owl ever escape? Stay tuned for magical mayhem. Yeah, exactly. Now, who wants me to eat this jelly bean? I don't think anybody wants to see me eat this anyway. You know, I'll just put it back. You know? Fine, fine, fine. Yeah, there? No. Here. No. That's actually very good. It's birthday cake. Oh, thank God for birthday cake. And actually, K-Mats, you can do the Cyber Ball if you want now, because people be seeing what the reaction would be like. But anyway, shall we turn back to reading? Oppa. What do you mean, Paul what? Uh, hey Edgeless! Well, it's a redeem, isn't it, Kay? Sour sweet. Oh well. Never mind, Edgeless. But how are you doing? You doing good? Yeah, the cookies. Did you get many more wins after I left? Okay, so where was I? The boy's right, you know. Kogan stated flatly. There's no explanation for why he cannot perform the skills I've tried to teach. The things he can do with scrolls and devices amaze me. The boy has such gifts for these things. I would wagered he had the makings of a magician with mighty arts, but his inability to use his inner powers. Do you think you can find a solution? I hope so. I'd hate to have to release him from apprenticeship. It'd go harder on him than had I never chosen him. His face showed genuine concern. It is confusing, Tully. I think you'll agree he has the potential for a great talent. As soon as I saw him use the crystal in my hut that night, I knew for the first time in years I might have at last found my apprentice. When no master chose him, I knew fate had set our paths to cross. But there was something else inside that boy's head. Something I've never met before. Something powerful. I don't know what it is, Tully, but it rejects my exercises, as if they're somehow not correct, or ill-suited to him. I don't know if I can explain what I've encountered with Poke any better. There's no simple explanation for it. Have you thought about what the boy said? Asked the beast, a look of concern on his face. You mean about my having been mistaken? Julie nodded. Oh, excuse me. Kogan dismissed the question with a wave of his hand. Julie, you know as much about the nature of magic as I do. Perhaps more. Your god is not called the god who brought order for nothing. Your sect unrivaled much about what orders this universe. Do you for one moment doubt that boy has talent? Talent, no. But his ability is the question for the moment. Well put, as usual. Well done. Have you any ideas? Should we make a cleric out of the boy, perhaps? Tully sat back, disapproving expression upon his face. You know the priesthood is a calling, Kogan, he said stiffly. Put your back down, Tully. I was making a joke. He sighed. Still, if he hasn't the calling of a priest, nor the knack of a magician's craft, what can we make of this natural ability of his? Tully pondered the question in silence for a moment, then said, Have you thought of the lost arts? Kogan's eyes widened. That old legend, Tully nodded. I doubt there is a magician alive who at one time or another hasn't reflected on the legend of the lost art. If it had existed, it would explain away many of the shortcomings of our craft. Then he fixed Tully with a narrowed eye, showing his disapproval. But legends are common enough. Turn up any rock on the beach and you find one. I, for one, prefer to look for real answers to our shortcomings, not blame them on ancient superstitions. Tully's expression became stern, and his tone scolding. We of the temple do not count it legend, Kogan. It is considered part of the revealed truth, taught by the gods to the first men. Nettled by Tully's tone, Kogan snapped. So was the notion the world is flat, until Rold Dirk, a magician, I'll remind you, sent his magic sight high enough to disclose the curvature of the horizon, clearly demonstrating the world to be a sphere. Yeah, they also thought the world was flat. It was a fact known by almost every sailor and fisherman who'd ever seen a sail appear upon the horizon before the rest of the ship, since the beginning of our time. His voice rose to a near shout. Seeing Tully was stung by the reference to ancient church canon long since abandoned, Kogan softened his tone. No disrespect to you, Tully, but don't try to teach an old thief to steal. I know your order chops logic with the best of them, and a half of your brother clerics fall into laughing fits when they hear those deadly serious young acolytes debate theological issues set aside a century ago. Yeah, even in this book. Besides which, isn't the legend of the lost art an Ishfrian dogma? Now it's Tullian's turn to fix Kogan with a disapproving eye, with a tone of amused expiration? I don't know. He said, Your education in religion is still lacking, Kogan, despite a somewhat unforgiving insight into the inner workings of my order. He smiled a little. You're right about the Moot's Gospel courts, though. Most of us find them so amusing because we remember how painfully grim we were about them when we were kilotes. Then turning serious, he said, But I am serious when I say your education is lacking. The Ishvians have some strange beliefs, it's true, and they are an insular group, but they are also the oldest order and are recognized as a senior church in questions pertaining to interdimensional differences. Religious wars, you mean? Said Kogan with an amused snort. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. It's like everything I do is like, wait, hold up. Okay, so it's a 2-second delay, I guess. Is everything that I'm doing and I'm seeing in my stream is what I'm thinking. Expiration. I don't know. Where were we? Sorry. Totally ignored the comment. The Ishrians are caretakers for the oldest lore and history in the kingdom, and they have the most extensive library in the kingdom. I have visited the library at their temple in Krondor, and it is most impressive. Kogan smiled and with a slight tone of condescension said, "As have I, Tully, and I've browsed the shelves of the Abbey of Sarth, which is 10 times as large. What's the point?" Ooh, nice. Care to share, Gummy? Do you have enough for the class? Are the people watching? Leaning forward, Tully said, "The point is, say what you will about the Ishvians, but when they put forth something as history, not lore, they can usually produce ancient tomes to support their claims." "No," said Colgan, waving aside Tully's comments with a dismissive wave. "I do not make light of your beliefs, or any other man's, but I cannot accept this nonsense about lost arts." I might be willing to believe Pug could be somehow more attuned to some aspect of magic I am ignorant of. Perhaps something involving spirit, conjugation, or illusion. Areas I will happily admit I know little about. But I cannot accept that he will never learn to master his craft, because the long vanished god of magic died during the Chaos War. Excuse me. No. There is unknown lore, I accept. There are too many shortcomings in our craft even to begin to think our understanding of magic is remotely complete. But if Pug can't learn magic, it's only because I have failed as a teacher. Tully now glared at Colgan, suddenly aware the magician was not pondering Pug's possible shortcomings by his own. "Now you're being foolish. You're a gifted man, and were I to have been the one to discover Pug's talent, I could not imagine a better teacher to place him with than yourself. But there can be no failing if you do not know what needs to be taught." Kogan began to sputter an objection, but Tully cut him off. "No, let me continue. What we lack is understanding. You seem to forget that there have been others like Pug, wild talents who could not master the gifts, others who failed as priests and magicians." Kogan puffed on his pipe, his brow knitted in concentration. Suddenly he began to chuckle, then laugh. Tully looked sharply at the magician. Kogan waved offhandedly with his pipe. "I was just struck by the thought that should a swineherd fail to teach his son the family calling, he could blame it upon the demise of the gods of the pigs." Tully's eyes went wide at the near blasphemous thought. Then he too laughed, a short bark. "That's one for the moot gospel courts." Both men laughed, a long tension-releasing laugh at that. Tully sighed and stood up. "Still, do not close your mind entirely to what I've said to Colgan. It may be Pug is one of those wild talents, and you may have to reconcile yourself for letting him go." Colgan shook his head sadly at the thought. "I refuse to believe there is a simple explanation for those other failures, Tully, or for Pug's Pigs? Oops, pugs. There's no peanut butter in M&Ms. Well, the ones I have never had peanut butter in them. Yeah, misread Pug's name as Pig. The fault was in each man or woman, not in the nature of the universe. I have often felt where we fail with Pug is in understanding how to reach him. Perhaps I'd be well advised to seek another master form. Place him with one better able to harness abilities. Tully sighed. I have spoken my mind of this question, Colgan. Other than what I've said, I cannot advise you. Still, as they say, a poor master is better than no master at all. How would the boy have fared if no one had chosen to teach him? Colgan bolted upright from his seat. What did you say? I said, how would the boy have fared if no one had chosen to teach him? Colgan's eyes seemed to lose focus as he stared into space. He began puffing furiously upon his pipe. After watching for a moment, Tully said, What is it, Colgan? Colgan said, I'm not sure, Tully, but you may have given me an idea. What sort of idea? Colgan waved off the question. I'm not entirely sure. Give me time to ponder. But consider your question and ask yourself this. How did the first magicians learn to use their power? Tully sat back down, blah, 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 blah. Ay, Dios mío. What was I? Yeah, but consider your question and ask yourself this. How did the first magicians learn to use their power? Tully sat back down, and both men began to consider the question in silence. Oh, shush, Gummy. Through the window, they could hear the sounds of boys. I think I will run. Yeah. Should I run an ad just in case? Try to get rid of pre-roll ads. Ah, never mind. Every sixth day, the boys and girls who worked in the castle were allowed to spend the afternoon as they saw fit. The boys, apprentice age and younger, were a loud and boisterous lot. The girls worked in the service of the ladies of the castle, cleaning and sewing, as well as helping in the kitchen. I guess so, in a sense. Yeah. I guess the magicians and priests work closely together. Because they can probably say that their religion is almost like a science now, because everything has magic in it, doesn't it? And so the gods want not, doesn't it? They all gave a full week's work, dawn to dusk and more each day, but on the 6th day of the week, they gathered in the courtyard of the castle, near the princess's garden. Most of the boys played a rough game of tag, involving the capture of a bull of leather, stuffed hard with rags, by one side, amid shoves and shouts, kicks, and occasional fistfights. All wore their oldest clothes, for rips and bloodstains and mudstains were common. The girls would sit along the low wall by the princess's garden, occupying themselves with gossip about the ladies of the duke's court. They nearly always put on their best skirts and blouses, and their hair shone from washing and brushing. Both groups made a great display of ignoring each other, and both were equally unconvincing. Pug ran to where the game was in progress. As was usual, Thomas was in the thick of the fray, sandy hair flying like a banner, shouting and laughing above the noise. Amid elbows and kicks, he sounded savagely joyous, as if the incidental pain made the contest all the more worthwhile. He ran through the pack, kicking the ball high in the air, trying to avoid the feet of those who sought to trip him. No one was quite sure how the game had come to existence, or exactly what the rules were. The boys played with battlefield intensity, as their fathers had years before. Pug ran onto the field and placed a foot before Wolf, just as he was about to hit Thomas from behind. Wolf went down in a tangle of bodies, and Thomas broke free. He ran towards the goal and dropping the ball in front of himself, kicking it into a large overturned barrel, scoring for his side. While the other boys yelled in celebration, Wolf leapt to his feet and pushed aside another boy to place himself directly in front of Pug. Glaring out from under thick brows, he spat at Pug. "Try that again and I'll break your legs, Sand Squint." The Sand Squint was a bird notoriously foul habits, not the least of which was leaving eggs in other birds' nests so that offspring were raised by other birds. Oh! Which bird was... We have the same... What was that bird called? They replaced the name for that bird. Thank you for that, Gummy, as always. Mike Keeper. So yeah, the cuckoo is a bird. Do I need to redo that entire paragraph? Oh, why not? I'll just do it. No, cuckoo. Not cookie. Cuckoo. Or cuckoo. Basically, the squint was a bird of notoriously foul habits, not the least of which was leaving eggs in other birds' nests so that its offspring were raised by other birds. Hey, no worry, Kay. Not cookie, cuckoo. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Cuckoo. Not Cookie. Ay, Dios mío. Scusi. So yeah. Pug was not about to let any insult of wolves pass unchallenged. With the frustrations of the last few months, only a little below the surface, Pug was feeling particularly thin-skinned this day. With a leap, he flew at Wolf's head, throwing his left arm around the stockier boy's neck. He drove his right fist into Wolf's face, and could feel Wolf's nose squish under the first blow. Quickly, both boys were rolling on the ground. Wolf's greater rate began to tell, and soon he sat astride Pug's chest, driving his fat fists into a smaller boy's face. Thomas stood by helpless, for as much as he wanted to aid his friend, the boy's code of honor was as strict and inviolate as any noble's. Should he intervene on his friend's behalf, Pug would never live down the shame. Thomas jumped up and down, urging Pug on, grimacing each time Pug was struck, as if he felt the blows himself. Pug tried to squirm out from under the larger boy, causing many of his blows to slip by, striking dirt instead of Pug's face. Enough of them were hitting the mark, however, so that Pug soon to feel a queer detachment from the whole procedure. He thought it strange that everybody sounded so far away, and that Wolf's blow seemed to not hurt. Really, Gummy? Yeah, throwing hands. Burp, key. Ay, Dios mío, je ne sais quoi. His vision was beginning to fill with red and yellow colors when he felt the weights lifted from his chest. After a brief moment came into focus, and Pug saw Prince Urthra standing over him, his hands firmly grasping Wolf's collar. While not as powerful a figure as his brother or father, the prince was still able to hold Wolf high enough so that the sable boy's toes barely touched the ground. The prince smiled, but without humor. "I think the boy has had enough," he said quietly, eyes glaring. "Don't you agree?" His cold tone made it clear he wasn't asking for an opinion. Blood still ran down Wolf's face from Pug's initial blow as he choked out the sound. The prince took to mean agreement. Arutha let go of Wolf's collar, and the sable boy fell backward, to the laughter of the onlookers. The prince reached down and helped Pug to his feet. Holding the wobbly boy steady, Urthra said, "I admire your courage, youngster, but we cannot have the wits beaten out of the duchy's finest young magician, can we?" His tone was only slightly mocking, and Pug was too numb to do more than stand and stare at the younger son of the Duke. The prince gave him a slight smile and handed him over to Thomas, who had come up next to Pug, a red cloth in hand. Pug came out of his fog as Thomas scrubbed his face with the cloth, and felt even worse when he saw the prince and Roland standing only a few feet away as Prince Athutha returned to their side. Oh, oops. Bit loud there. Where are we? Famous folk, Princess and Roland standing only feet away. Yeah. To take a beating before the girls of the keeper is bad enough. To be punished by a loud like wolf in front of the princess was a catastrophe. Emitting a groan that had little to do with his physical state, Pug tried to look as much like someone else as he could. Thomas grabbed him roughly. Try not to squirm too much. Try not to squirm around so much. You're not all that bad off. Most of his blood is wolf's anyway. By tomorrow his nose will look like a red angry cabbage. So will my head. Nothing so bad. A black eye, perhaps too, with a swollen cheek thrown into the bargain. On the whole, you did rather well. The next time you want to tango with Ruth, wait until you put on a little more size, will you? Pug watched as the prince led his sister away from the sight of battle. Roland gave him a wide grin, and Pug wished himself dead. Okay, so once we get to the 4th chapter, we'll take a 10-15 minute break, and I'll get myself a water or something to keep my mouth hydrated. Where was I? Pug and Thomas walked out of the kitchen, dinner plates in hand. It was a warm night, and they preferred the cooling ocean breeze to the heat of the scullery. They sat on the porch, and Pug moved his jaw from side to side, feeling it pop in and out. He experimented with a bite of lamb and put his plate to one side. Thomas watched him. Can't eat. Pug nodded. Jaw hurts too much. Well, let's... yeah. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees and chin on his fists. I should have kept my temper, then I would have done better. Thomas spoke from around a mouthful of food. Master Fanon says a the soldier must keep a cool head at all times or he'll lose it. Pug sighed. Hogan said something like that. I have some drills I can do that make me relax. I should have used them. Thomas gulped a heroic portion of his meal. Practicing in your room is one thing, but putting that sort of business into use while someone is insulting you to your face is quite another. I'd have done the same thing, I suppose. But you would have won. Probably, which is why Wolf would never have come at me. His manner showed he wasn't being boastful, merely stating as they were. Still, you did all right. Old Cabbage Nose will think twice before picking on you again, I'm sure. And that's what the whole thing is about, isn't it, anyway? Pug said, What do you mean? Thomas put down his plate and belched, with a satisfied look at the sound of it, he said. With bullies, it's always the same. Whether or not you can beat them doesn't matter. What is important is whether or not you'll stand up to them. Wolf may be big, but he's a coward under all the bluster. He'll turn his attention to the younger boys now and push them around a bit. I don't think he'll want any part of you again. He doesn't like the price. Thomas gave Pug a broad and warm smile. That first punch he gave him was a beaut. White scar on the beak. Pug felt a little better. Thomas eyed Pug's untouched dinner. You going to eat that? Oh, I'd be so the same like Thomas. I would be eyeing the plates, eating more. Pug looked at his plate. It was fully laden with hot lamb, greens, and potatoes. In spite of the rich smell, Pug felt no appetite. No, you can have it. Thomas scooped up the platter and began shoving the food into his mouth. Pug smiled. Thomas had never been known to stint on food. Pug returned his gaze into the castle wall. I felt like such a fool. Thomas stopped eating, with a handful of meat halfway through his mouth. He studied Pug for a moment. You too? Me too, what? Thomas laughed. You're embarrassed because the prince saw Wolf gave you a thrashing. Pug bridled. It wasn't a thrashing. I gave as well as I got. Thomas whooped. There, I knew it. It's the princess. Always a princess, isn't it? Pug sat back in resignation. I suppose it is. What's the matter, Gummy? Where was I? Thomas said nothing, and Pug looked over at him. He was busy finishing off Pug's dinner. Finally, Pug said, I suppose you don't like her. Thomas shrugged. Between bites, he said, Our Lady Caroline is pretty enough, but I know my place. I have my eye on someone else anyway. Pug sat up. Who? He asked, his curiosity piqued. I'm not saying, Thomas said with a sly smile. Pug laughed. It's Neela, right? Thomas' jaw dropped. How did he know? Pug tried to look mysterious. We magicians have our ways. Thomas snorted. Some magician. You're no more a magician than I am a knight captain of the king's army. Tell me, how did you know? Pug laughed. It's no mystery. Every time you see her, you puff up that tabard of yours and preen like a bantam rooster. Thomas looked troubled. You don't think she's onto me, do you? Pug smiled like a well-fed cat. She's not onto you, I'm sure. He paused. If she's blind, and all the other girls in the keep haven't pointed out to her 100 times already. A woe-begone look crossed Thomas's face. What must a girl think? Pug said. Who knows what girls think? From everything I can tell, she probably likes it. Thomas looked thoughtfully at his plate. Do you ever think about taking a wife? Pug blinked like an owl caught in the bright light. I never thought about it. I don't know if magicians marry. I don't think they do. Nor soldiers mostly. But Master Fennon says a soldier who thinks about his family is not thinking about his job. Thomas was silent for a minute. Pug said, It doesn't seem to hamper Sergeant Garden or some of the other soldiers. Thomas snorted, as if those exceptions merely proved his point. I sometimes try to imagine what it would be like to have a family. Yes, and I keep saying shoulders instead of saying soldiers. Ay, Dios mío. Uh, Fine. Of course you do. Ah, hold up. Hi, hi. Yes, yes, eat the sour sweets. Well, here's the sour sweets I've been eating. So, which color? Yellow, blue, pink, green, purple, blue. No, not warheads. I don't know what they are exactly. Okay. Here's blue. Are you sure you want me to see me eat this? You know, I don't really have to eat it, do I? Nah, you don't want to see me eat this, do you? Not at all. Okay, okay, fine. Harry? Yeah, okay. Here, yeah. It's actually not that bad. Rum is what I have. Don't have any water. No, trust me, there are other ones that are worse. But I'm not saying which ones though. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Why would I say which ones are worse? You have a family, stupid. I'm the orphan here. I mean the right forkhead. Thomas gave Pug his best. You're too stupid to live, look. And children someday, not a mother and father. Pug shrugged. The conversation was turning to preferences that disturbed him. He never thought about these things, being less anxious to grow up than Thomas. He said, I expect we'll get married and have children if that's what we're supposed to do. Thomas looked very seriously at Pug, so the younger boy didn't make light of the subject. I've imagined a small room somewhere in the castle, and I can't imagine who the girl would be. He chewed his food. There's something wrong with it, I think. Wrong. As if there's something else I'm not understanding. I don't know. Pug said, well, if you don't, then how am I supposed to know? Yeah, exactly, Gummy. Thomas suddenly changed the topic of conversation. We're friends, aren't we? Pug was taken by surprise. Of course we're friends. You're like a brother. Your parents have treated me like their own son. Why would you ask me something like that? Thomas put down his plate, troubled. I don't know, it's just that sometimes I think this will all somehow change. You're going to be a magician. Maybe travel all over the world, seeing other magicians in faraway lands. I'm going to be a soldier, bound to follow my lord's orders. I'll probably never see more than a little parts of the kingdom, and that only as an escort in the Duke's personal guard if I'm lucky. Pug became alarmed. He had never seen Thomas so serious about anything. The older boy was always the first to laugh and seemed never to have a worry. I don't care what you think, Thomas, said Pug. Nothing will change. We will be friends no matter what. Thomas smiled at that. I hope you're right. He sat back, and the two boys watched the stars over the sea and the lights from the town, framed like a picture by the castle gate. Pug tried to wash his face the next morning, but found the task too arduous to complete. His left eye was swollen completely shut, his right only half open. Great bluish lumps decorated his visage, and his jaw popped when he moved it from side to side. Pontus lay on Pug's pallet, red eyes gleaming as the morning sun poured in through the tower window. The door to the boy's room swung open, and Kilgan stepped through, his stout frame covered in green robe. Pausing to regard the boy for a moment, he sat on the pallet and scratched the drake behind the eye ridges, bringing a pleased rumble from deep within Fonta's throat. I see you didn't spend yesterday sitting about idly, he said. Had a bit of trouble, sir. Yeah, certainly, Owie, that's for sure. We started threw a punch, though, at the other guy, Wolf, or whatever his name was. Well, fighting is the province of boys, as well as grown men. I trust that the other boy looks at least as bad. It'd be a shame to have had none of the pleasure of giving as well as receiving. You're making sport of me. Only a little, Pug. The truth is that in my own youth I had my share of scraps, but from time for boyish fighting has passed. You must put your energies to better use. I know, Kogan, but I've been so frustrated lately that that Claude Wolf said that he did about me being an orphan, all the anger came boiling up out of me. Well, knowing your own part in this is a good sign that you're becoming a man. Most boys will try to justify their actions by shifting blame or by claiming some moral imperative to fight. Pug pulled over the stool and sat down, facing the magician. Hogan took out his pipe and started to fill it. Pug, I think in your case you may have been going about the matter of your education in the wrong way, searching for a taper to light in the small fire that burned in a night pot and finding none. Hogan's face clouded as he concentrated for a minute. A small flame erupted from the index finger of his right hand, applying it to the pipe. He soon had the room half filled with great clouds of white smoke. The flame disappeared with the wave of his hand. A handy skill if you like the pipe. I'd give anything to be able to do even that much, Pug said in disgust. As I was saying, I think we may have been going about this in the wrong way. Perhaps we should consider a different approach to your education. What do you mean? Pug, the first magicians long ago had no teachers in the arts of magic. They evolved the skills that we learned today. Some of the old skills, such as smelling the changes of the weather, or the ability to find water with a stick, go back to our earliest beginnings. I've been thinking that for a time I'm going to leave you to your own devices. Study what you want in the books that I have. Keep up with your other work. Learning describes arts from Turley, but I will not trouble you with any lessons for a while. I will, of course, answer any questions you have, but I think, for the time being, you need to sort yourself out. Restful, Pug asked. Am I beyond help? Hogan smiled reassuringly. Not in the least. There have been many cases of magicians having slow starts before. Your apprenticeship is for 9 more years, remember. Don't be put off by the failures of the last few months. By the way, would you care to learn to ride? Pug's mood did a complete turnabout, and he cried, Oh yes, may I? The Duke has decided I would like a boy to ride with the princess from time to time. His sons have many duties now that they have grown, and he feels you would be a good choice for when they are too busy to accompany her. Oh? Ayo? Well, he's certainly getting close to the princess, isn't he? Pug's heads were spinning. Not only was he to learn to ride, a skill limited to nobility for the most part, but to be in the company of the princess as well? When do I start? This very day. Morning chapel is almost done. Being first day, those inclined went to devotions either in the keep's chapel or in the small temple down in town. The rest of the day was given to light work, only that needed to put food on Duke's table. The boys and girls might get an extra half day on 6th day, but their elders rested only on the first day. Go to Horsemaster Algon. He has been instructed by the Duke and will begin your lessons now. Without a further word, Pug leaped up and sped for the stables. And with that, God, I need a stretchy. With that, we are on chapter 4, Assaults. We'll be taking a, let's say, 20-minute break. Why not? So please, go get food, water, go to the toilet, and yeah. And we'll see. No, in chapter 4. Yeah, we finished chapter 3. Yeah. My ad's about to start. I'll just start it now. Let's say, yeah. Yeah, and you're back. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We will be continuing on with the fourth chapter. Pug rode in silence. His horse ambled along the bluffs that overlooked the seas. The warm breeze carried the scent of flowers, and to the east the trees of the forest swayed slowly. The summer sun caused a heat shimmer over the ocean. Above the rays, gulls could be seen hanging in the air, then diving into the water as they sought food. Overhead, large white clouds drifted. Pug remembered this morning as he watched the black back of the princess on her fine white palfrey. He had been kept waiting in the stables for nearly 2 hours before the princess appeared with her father. The Duke had lectured Pug at length on his responsibility towards the lady of the castle. Hey Hatter, how you doing? Yeah, thank you for coming on by. Yeah. Can someone give Hatter a shout out, please? That'd be really awesome. Pug had stood mute throughout as the Duke repeated all of Horsemaster's Ogun's instructions of the night before. The master of the stables had been instructing him for a week and judged him ready to ride with the princess, if barely. Pug had followed her out of the gate, still marveling at his unexpected fortune. He was exuberant in spite of having spent the night tossing and then skipping breakfast. Yet now his mood was changing from boyish adoration to outraged irritation. The princess refused to respond to any of his polite attempts at conversation, except to order him about. Her tone was imperious and rude, and she insisted on calling him boy, ignoring several courteous reminders that his name was Pug. Yeah, exactly. I know, imagine skipping breakfast. Ay, Dios mío. I said pug, not pig. Ay, Dios mío. She acted little like the poised young woman of the court now, and resembled nothing as much as a spoiled, petulant kid or child. He had felt awkward at first as he sat atop the old grey horse that had been judged sufficient for one of his skill. The mare had a calm nature and showed no inclination to move faster than absolutely necessary. I think you should be talking to that about the princess rather than Pug. Pug wore his bright red tunic, the one that Kogan had given to him, but still looked poorly attired next to the princess. She was dressed in a simple but exquisite yellow riding dress trimmed in black, and a matching hat. Even sitting side saddle, Caroline looked like one born to ride, while Pug felt as if he should be walking behind his mare with a plough between. Pug's horse had an irritating tendency to want to stop every dozen feet to crop grass or nibble at strawberry, ignoring Pug's frantic kicks to the side, while the princess's excellently trained horse responded instantly to the slightest touch of her crop. She rode along in silence, ignoring the grunts of exertion from the boy behind, who attempted by force of will as much as horsemanship to keep his recalcitrant mount moving. Pug felt the first stirring of hunger, his dreams of romance surrendering to his normal 15-year-old's appetites. As they rode, his thoughts turned more and more to the basket of lunch that hung from his saddle horn. After what seemed like an eternity to Pug, the princess turned to him. Boy, what is your craft? Startled by the question after a long silence, Pug stammered his reply. I'm apprentice to Master Colgan. She fixed him with a gaze that would have suited her had an insect been found crawling across the dinner plate. Oh, you're that boy. Whatever brief spark of interest there had been went out, and she turned away from him. They rode a while longer. Then the princess said, Boy, we stop here. Pug pulled up his mare, and before he could reach the princess's side, she was nimbly down, not waiting for his hand, as Master Ogun had instructed him she would. She handed him the reins of her horse, and walked to the edge of the cliffs. She stared out to sea for a minute, then without looking at Pug, said, Do you think I'm beautiful? Pug stood in silence, not knowing what to say. She turned and looked at him. Well? Pug said, Yes, Your Highness. Very beautiful? Yes, Your Highness. Very beautiful. The princess seemed to consider this for a moment, then returned her attention to the feast below. It is important for me to be beautiful, boy. Lady Marna says that I must be the most beautiful lady in the kingdom, for I must find a powerful husband someday, and only the most beautiful ladies in the kingdom can choose. Beautiful. Ay, Dios mío. Je ne sais quoi. The homely ones must take whoever will ask for them. She says that I will have many suitors, for father is very important. She turned, and for a brief moment Pug thought he saw a look of apprehension pass over her lovely features. Have you many friends, boy? Chisaki! Hello! Some, Your Highness. She studied him for a moment, then said, That must be nice. Absently brushing aside a wisp of hair that had come loose from under her broad-brimmed riding hat. Something in her seemed so wounded and alone that moment that Pug found his heart in his throat again. Yeah. Yeah, more cookies for Chisaki. Obviously, his expression revealed something to his princess. For suddenly her eyes narrowed and her mood shifted from thoughtful to regal. In a most commanding voice, she announced, "We will have lunch now." Pug quickly staked the horses and unslung the basket. He placed it on the ground and opened it. Caroline stepped over and said, "I will prepare the meal, boy. I will not have clumsy hands overturning dishes and spilling wine." Throwing a cookie at Chisaki, why not? Oh! Oh my god, I completely forgot! No! Oh my god, I keep forgetting to do it for the reading streams. Where is it? 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 Oh my god, yes, cats! How long in the streams has it been in? It's been 2 hours already. Hey, duck! And it's always with the reading streams I forget about it. Do I even have something for cats? Yes, I do actually. Well, let's put you here. Yeah. Yeah. So how are you doing, Chisaki and Duck? You doing good? Yeah, the cats are here. Bug took a step back as she knelt and began unpacking the lunch. Rich odors of cheese and bread assailed Pug's nostrils and his mouth watered. The princess looked up at him. "Walk the horses over the hill to the stream and water them. You may eat as we ride back. I'll call you when I have eaten." Suppressing a groan, Pug took the horse's reins and started walking. He kicked at some loose stones, emotions conflicting within him as he led the horses along. He knew he wasn't supposed to leave the girl, but he couldn't very well disobey her either. There was no one else in sight, and trouble was unlikely this far from the forest. No, I can't translate it. Okay. I do not have the words to translate everything in the book. Additionally, he was glad to be away from Caroline for a little while. He reached the stream and unsaddled the mounts. He brushed away the damp saddle and girth marks, then left the reins upon the ground. The palfrey was trained to ground tie, and the draft horse showed no inclination to wander far. They cropped grasses while Pug found a comfortable spot to sit. He considered the situation and found himself perplexed. Caroline was still the loveliest girl he has ever seen, but her manners quickly taking the sheen off his fascination. For the moment his stomach was of larger concern than a girl of his dreams. He thought perhaps there was more to this love business than he had imagined. He assumed himself for a while by speculation on that. When he grew bored, he went to look for stones in the water. He hadn't had much of an opportunity to practice with his sling of late, and now was a good time. He found several smooth stones and took out his sling. He practiced by taking out targets among small trees, some distance off, startling the birds in the residence there. He hit several clusters of bitter berries, missing only one target out of 6. Satisfied his aim was still good as always, he tucked his sling in his belt. He found several more stones that looked especially promising and put them in his pouch. He judged the girl must be nearly though, and so his word towards him. He'd be ready. Sorry, I was reading on ahead. As he reached the princess's horse, a scream sounded from the other side of the hill. He dropped the princess's saddle and raced to the crest. And when he cleared the ridge, he stopped in shock. The hair on his neck and arms stood on end. The princess was running. And what time is it for you? Yeah, it's almost 12, it's almost midnight for you, okay, isn't it? In pursuit were a pair of trolls. 10-ish. Oh yeah, 10, not 12. Yeah, I forget it's only 2 hours, not 4. Trolls usually don't venture this far from the forest, and Pug was unprepared for the sight of them. They were human-like, but short and broad with long, thick arms that hung nearly to the ground. They ran on all fours as often as not, looking like a comic parody of an ape, their bodies covered by thick grey hide, and their lips drawn black, revealing long fangs. Scusi. Their ugly creatures rarely troubled a group of humans. They would attack a lone traveler from time to time. Pug hesitated for a moment, pulling his sling from his belt and loading a stone. Then he charged down the hill, whirling his sling above his head. The creatures had nearly overtaken the princess when he let fly with a stone. It caught the foremost troll in the side of the head, knocking it for a full somersault. The second stumbled into it, and both went down in a tangle. Pug stopped as they regained their feet, their attention diverted from Caroline to their attacker. They roared at Pug, then charged. Pug ran back up the hill. He knew that if he could reach the horses, he could outrun them, circle around for Girl, and be safely away. He looked over his shoulder and saw them coming. Huge canine teeth bared, long foreclaws tearing up the ground. Downward he could smell their rank, rotting meat odor. He cleared the top of the hill, his breath coming in ragged gasps. His heart skipped as he saw that the horses had wandered across the stream and were 20 yards further away than before. Plunging down the hill, he hoped the difference would not prove fatal. He could hear the trolls behind them as he entered the stream at full run. The water was shallow here, but still it slowed him down. Splashing through the stream, he caught his foot on a stone and fell. He threw his arms forward and broke his fall with his hand, keeping his head above water. Shock ran up through his arms as he tried to gain his feet. He stumbled again and turned as the trolls approached the water's edge. They howled at the sight of their tormentor stumbling in the water and paused for a second. Paused for a moment. Pug felt blind terror as he struggled with numb fingers to put a stone in his sling. He fumbled and dropped the sling, and the stream carried it away. Pug felt a scream building in his throat. As the trolls entered the water, a flash of light exploded behind Pug's eyes. A searing pain ripped across his forehead as letters of grey seemed to appear in his mind. They were familiar to Pug, from a scroll that Colgan had shown him several times. Without thinking, he mouthed the incantation, each word vanishing from his mind's eye as he spoke it. When he reached the last word, the pain stopped. A loud roar sounded from before him. He opened his eyes and saw the two trolls writhing in the water, their eyes wide with agony as they thrashed about helplessly, screaming and groaning. Dragging himself out of the water, Pug watched while the creatures struggled. They were making choking and spluttering noises now as they flopped the belts. After a moment, one shook and stopped moving, laying face down in the water. The second took a few minutes longer to die, but like its companion, it also drowned, unable to keep its head above the shallow water. Yeah. Feeling lightheaded and weak, Pug recrossed the stream, his mind now numb. Everything seemed hazy, disjointed. He stopped after taking a few steps, remembering the horses. He looked about and could see nothing of the animals. They must have run off when they caught wind of the trolls and be on the way to safe pasture. Pug resumed his walk to where the princess had been. He topped the hill lock and looked around. She was nowhere in sight, so he headed for the overturned basket of food. He was having trouble thinking, and he was ravenous. He knew he should be doing or thinking about something, but he sort of killed scope of his thoughts with food. Dropping two things, he picked up a wedge of cheese and stuffed in his mouth. Half-spilled bottle of wine lay nearby, and he washed the cheese down with it. The rich cheese and piquant white wine revived him, and he felt his mind clearing. He ripped a large piece of bread from a loaf and chewed on it while trying to put his thoughts in order. As Pug recalled events, one thing stood out. Somehow he managed to cast his magic spell. What's more, he had done so without the aid of a book, scroll, or device. He was not sure, but that seemed somehow strange. His thoughts turned hazy again. More than anything, he wanted to lie down and sleep. But as he chewed his food, a thought pushed through the crazed quilt of his impressions. The princess! He jumped to his feet, his head swam. Steadying himself, he grabbed up some bread and wine and set off in the direction he had last seen her running. He pushed himself along, his feet scuffing as he tried to walk. After a few minutes, his thinking improving and his exhaustion lifting, he started to call the princess's name, and heard muted sobbing coming from a clump of bushes. Pushing his way through, he found Caroline huddled behind the shops, her balled fists pulled up into her stomachs. Her eyes were wide with terror, and her gown was soiled and torn. Startled when Pug stepped into view, she jumped to her feet and flew into his arm, burying her head in his chest. Great racking sobs shook her body as she clutched the fabric of his shirt, staying with his arms still outstretched, wine and bread covering. Pug was totally confused over what to do. He awkwardly placed the arms around Turfgrid and said, "It's all right. They're gone. You're safe." She hung on to him for a moment. Then, when her tears subsided, she stepped away. With a sniffle, she said, "I thought they had killed you, and they're coming back for me." Pug found this situation more perplexing than any he had ever known. Just when he had come... Oops. I need to keep the book down, don't I?